Fun facts. My name is Prachi. Approximately 10% of the world is left-handed. More men are left-handed than women. And this is a video introducing my makeup collection at the start of my no-buy year. This is such a long video, guys. It's such a long video. So to make it easier, just in case, I've put timestamps down in the description box of the different sections of my makeup collection in case people are more interested in one category of makeup than another. So I apologize in advance for how long this is going to be, but maybe grab a drink, grab a snack, put me at 1.5 times the speed or even 2 times the speed like I do frequently when I watch YouTube, and let's get it. Alrighty, so this is all of my makeup. It's not usually stored on here. This is my study table, but I've pulled it all out on here. So every piece of makeup that I own fits into this one Muji acrylic drawer, that stand, and then this overflow pouch. What's on the right hand side, those 2 bags over here, those are my everyday travel makeup bags because I don't actually have a vanity. I do my makeup on my commute. So those 2 bags are what I travel with when I need to travel, and those are the 2 bags that I tend to work out of during the week. So this makeup bag basically holds things that are too tall for these acrylic drawers because they're quite slim. The vast majority of my makeup is stored in these acrylic drawers, but I feel like they're overstuffed. Marie Kondo, she talks a lot about how you don't want your storage containers to be packed to the brim. This is packed not only to the brim, but over it. There are things kind of stacked on top of each other. Let me actually show you how the inside is configured at this point in time. So this topmost drawer is fine because in the sense of everything, there's only 1 layer of products. It's mostly my lip products and a couple other things. This second drawer is also kind of fine in that there's nothing stacked on top of each other. However, you can see once we start moving down here that there's just not enough space. There's, you know, a palette on top of a palette. There's 3 eyeshadows over here. There's highlighters on top of each other, like this is on top of something else. And I want to not kind of have that. And that's especially true of this final drawer here where it's like everything is stacked on top of something else. And I kind of don't enjoy how over full it is. And I feel the same about this. Like there's not room here, like these don't shake around. Like everything is so tightly packed in here that I absolutely couldn't fit anything else. And that's sort of the general feeling I have about my makeup collection, that it's completely filled to the brim, almost kind of, if we were to use the analogy of like a teddy bear, it's almost overstuffed, like it's bursting at the seams. I feel like if I added just one more thing, it won't hold. Like there's no space for anything else. I would need another storage container or some other organizational system, and I don't want that. Like I want everything to be contained in these 5 containers. More to the point, I find that I don't know everything that I have. Like you're about to see this when I go through everything. I forget that I own certain things. There's too much information for me to hold inside my brain, in the sense of if you ask me, oh, which concealers do you own? Like I can't name all of them. And that to me is a sign that I have too much. I want to be able to recognize everything that I own. I want to only own enough that I can remember and actually enjoy using. And that brings me to the other part of this, which is that not only do I not know everything that I own, but I couldn't give you a review of everything that I own because I haven't used so much of it. And so what I'm hoping is that through the no-buy year, because I'll actually be forced to use everything to really explore the depths of my collection, that by the end of it I will have a sense of every single product in here and what I like and what I don't. So that's sort of a disclaimer, because I know everybody's makeup collections, they're all at different sizes, they're all at different scopes. This may be way more makeup than some people own, and way, way less, I know, than a lot of other people own. But the point is, for me personally, this is enough. And not only enough, this is overwhelming. And I think it's really fascinating to see what each person's individual line in the sand is, what is deemed too much or too little for everybody else. And so I'm not passing judgment on anybody with more makeup than me or even less makeup than me. I'm just saying that this is where I draw the line. This is bursting at the seams for me. It's too much. So I just wanted to say that before we kind of get into the makeup. I also would just like to point out that this jar is from Harry Potter World in Florida. So for all of my Potterheads out there, this one's for you. Okay, so here we are at my study table, and what I've done is I've sorted and categorized every single possible base product I could find in my house all onto this table. And what I've discovered is I have functionally 8 categories of product, and if I run out of everything in a particular category, I'm allowed to purchase or repurchase one. So the 8 categories that I found for myself from left to right, so that's like a mixing medium for foundation, radiance primers, primers in general, concealers, powders, and setting spray on the top right. So those are my 8 major categories. I'm gonna like zoom us in. Is my camera gonna cooperate? Only time will tell. And of course, we are not in focus. Technical difficulties, one moment please. Alright, so the very first category we have here is sort of color correcting mixing mediums. This is just from Makeup Forever. It's one of their yellow ochre pigments. I used to own this because back in the day it was really hard to find foundations that actually matched my skin color, and so I'd often have to, they often weren't yellowy green enough, like they didn't have that olive undertone, and so I would usually have to end up mixing some of this into it. I don't really use this anymore, I just keep it around just in case, but when it runs out, this is a category that I think I will not repurchase or fill. I'll just leave this category empty because I'd much rather, I'm determined now, like it's 2019, I should be able to find a foundation that matches my skin without needing to like mix in a bunch of other stuff to color correct. Like that's an expectation that I have. Moving forward over here, this is every single speck of foundation inside my house. So I have 4 full-size bottles, the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte in 108, this is the MAC Face and Body in C5, Smashbox Studio Skin in 2.22, Wet n Wild in golden beige. And then there are some random assorted little samples of foundation, most of which are from NARS when I was trying to get color match. Now, they're functionally kind of useless because, as you can see, this is so much foundation. Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to run through all of this foundation before Feb 2020. Moving forward onto... Actually, let's discuss what's happening here with the primers for a second. So, primer-wise, there are some people for whom they would lump all primers into one category, but that's not actually how I do my makeup. I have a very specific role in my makeup routine for sort of like radiance type of primers, which is this category right up here. And what I do is I put them just all over my cheeks, on the apple of my cheeks, on my cheekbone, and up around my temples before I put on foundation, because I find that it gives my skin that sort of, my cheeks in particular, this very goldeny, luminous look that I'm looking for. I think I'm going to discuss that a little more in the highlighter section because I have like a very specific look I'm trying to achieve with highlighter, and this helps me achieve that without actually being a highlighting product. Like I never put these on top of foundation, I always only put them on underneath it, and so they're one category that if, totally not going to happen, I finish every single radiance boosting product in this category, I can allow myself to repurchase one. So just to recap what's going on over here, this is the Physicians Formula Spotlight Primer. I have 3 versions of the MAC Strobe Cream. This is in Gold Light. This is the original, which I think is called Pink Light. One of these is a sample of Peach Light. The other one is a sample of the MAC Hyper Real Foundation, which is really just like a super intense metallic liquid highlight thing that I put on only under my foundation. This one I think is the NARS Radiance Primer, a sample of that. This is one of the Sephora 100 Point Perks. It's the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea. My god, can I speak? radiance oil. Like, it's very oily. I've only used it once. I don't really have opinions on most of these products. Like, my tried and true is MAC Stroke Cream and this Physicians Formula Spotlight. Like, this is what I tend to use every day. I literally got this as a point perk one time. It's like the Sephora Beauty Amplifier mini size, and I have never used it. I have no opinion on it. This is what I mean, right? Like, I cannot give you a review on everything in my collection, which is kind of sad. Speaking of another category where it's just like I have no idea what I'm doing, it's primers. I really don't have any preferences on primers. I've realized I don't know whether I prefer hydrating primers, pore filling primers, blurring primers, color correcting primers, because plot twist, I don't actually use primers in my everyday life. And yet here I am with 4 full-size primers, a mini, and 3 samples. Like, what am I doing with my life? What choices have I made that have led me here? So moving from left to right, we have a sample of the Cover FX Dewy Primer, Tatcha Silk Canvas, YSL Blur, MAC Prep and Prime in yellow, e.l.f. Pore Filling, Ordinary High Adherence Silicone Primer, Smashbox Pore Minimizing, and the NYX Hydra Touch. I could not give you a review or opinion on any of these because I just don't use them enough. So, yeah. This concealer category, now that we've moved on, is quite possibly my most shameful category because, are you ready for this? I did not know and had forgotten that I owned 4 of these concealers. So the only concealers I remembered I owned were these 2 NARS ones. This is the NARS Radiant Creamy in Biscuit. This is the NARS Soft Matte Complete in Ginger. The only other concealer I remembered I had, because I use this all the time, is my Too Faced Born This Way in Sand. I actually find that that's a really good concealer to spot conceal with, even though it's liquidy. These other ones I didn't know existed. This L'Oreal Infallible, my Maybelline Better Skin. I think this is a Maybelline Fit Me in 25, and this is a MAC Prep and Prime, something in the color Bright Forecast. I forgot I owned them. That's not something I'm particularly proud of. So up here we have the category of powders. I've just lumped all loose and pressed as one category. So if I run out of all of these in the following year, I can only replace it with one. Hi. Hello. Just realized I'm fully visible. That's okay. This is a Charlotte Tilbury Airless Airbrush Flawless Finish. It has such a long name. I don't know. This is the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Natural in, I think, golden, medium golden is the color. Laura Mercier Translucent. This is like a mini size of the powder. And this is the Ben Nye Banana Powder. I do not bake my skin. I don't bake my under eye or do any form of baking that is not of the like eating things variety. So I actually put that all over my face. The final category of base products, and quite possibly the only one that I might actually run entirely through in 2019, are my setting sprays. This is the MAC Fix Plus in Gold Light, and this is the bottle of a mini size MAC Fix Plus, but what it actually contains is a vitamin E toner from the Body Shop that I hate using as an actual toner. And before I acquired this Fix Plus was what I was using as a setting spray. Alright, so there we have it. That is every single spec of base products that I own in my house. It's so much. This is so much, guys. Like, I have one face. It's not even a big face. I don't even use like a bunch of these products on the daily. I don't have like a very extensive routine. And the fact that I own this many base products is kind of ridiculous. Particularly because I'm the kind of person who I just want one in each category. Like, I want one foundation, one primer, one radiance product, one powder, one setting spray, and one concealer. Like, I want this to go from however many products this is down to just 7, because I don't want that category to even have to exist on principle. So it'll be really exciting to me to actually get to use these, come up with opinions on them, figure out what I like and don't like, and hopefully at the end of the year when I reshoot this, there will be way fewer things on this table. Alright, so here we have all of my cheek products. I've categorized them into 4 distinct categories. Bronzer contour, that's one category. Then highlight, that's another category. Overtly cool tone blushes, neutral tone blushes, and warm tone blushes. Okay, so I have 3 products that I can use to bronze or contour. The Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow in medium deep. The highlight part of it shattered like a really long time ago. I also have, this is from the Balm, the Bahama Mama bronzer, and this is a limited edition MAC bronzer in the color Bahiana Bronze. So that's 3 products total. Okay, so first in the category of overtly warm blushes, I have 4 of them. MAC's Telling Glow, NARS Taj Mahal, Burt's Bees Bare Peach, I think is the name, and then a Shiseido blush in Momoko. This is like a cream to powder type of moussey blush. If I finish all 4 of these, I'm allowed to repurchase 1 warm tone blush. Over here we have what I call neutral blushes, which are blushes that on my skin tone I can wear with either warm or cool tone looks. It doesn't really matter. They just add a little bit of color and make me look less dead. So over here we have the only blush I've ever hit pan on. It's a cream blush by Stila. It's one of their convertible colors in the shade Camellia. It's old, but it's old in that apparently they're only supposed to last for 6 months. This is definitely older than 6 months, but it hasn't made me break out yet and the smell hasn't gone off, so I'm just gonna keep using it. Here we have the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in Warm Soul, and then this is the Hourglass blush in Mood Exposure. A piece of it kind of like broke off and fell out, and I actually have that piece saved somewhere, like in a Ziploc bag, but this was the first high-end blush I ever bought for myself, and I still use it to this day, like 0 regrets. The final blush category is what I would call overtly cool blushes. So this is the Marc Jacobs blush in Kink and Kisses. It looks quite pink on my skin, and then this is almost like a fuchsia type of color. I really love using both of these for kind of Japanese igari style blush looks. This is another MAC Extra Dimension blush in the color, I want to say, Rosy Cheeks. Ah, that's aptly named. It's in the color Rosy Cheeks. Finally, we come down to the category highlighter. Unlike my blushes, you'll note that I just have one category where I've put everything regardless of finish or tone, right? Unlike blushes where I sorted things into different color families. And that's because I'm actually not a person who pays that much attention to the color of a highlight. When I highlight, there's a very specific look that I'm going for. I'm gonna see if I can insert a clip here, but this is sort of the look that I want, right? This sort of very beautiful, glowy, my whole cheek looks like it's glowing, that sort of glass skin Korean vibe. That's what I want all of my highlighters to do for me. And I don't really care what color or tone or undertone they are. If they give me that effect, we're good. Ultimately, I want to live in a world where I just have one highlighting product that gives me that beautiful, dewy effect that I'm looking for. In reality, I actually own quite a few highlighters. So here we have the MAC Hyper Real Glow palette. This is the golder tone. I know they have one that's more like pinkish silver, and I think they've come out with some new ones that are like peachy and holographic. This is just the gold one because that's what's the most flattering on me. This is the very first highlighter I ever owned. There's actually a significant dent in it that isn't visible. It's the Mary Luminizer from the Balm. This is, Mariah Leonard made me buy this. This is the NARS highlighter in the color Fort de France. It is the best powder highlight at giving me that glass skin look. Over here we have sort of my more liquidy cream highlights. On the left there's a small sample. It's like a Sephora 100 point perk. It's the Cover FX drops in, I think the color is Moonlight. This is from the Body Shop. It only comes in one color. It's like these illuminating drops that I use them so liberally. They're the opposite of this Cover FX drops. They're very subtle. They give a very nice sheen. This is the Benefit What's Up. Oh my god, this is the Nude Sticks Nudies Hey Honey, which also Mariah Leonard made me buy. Real talk, Mariah Leonard made me buy so many different highlighters. Like, I just realized 3 of these things I own only because Mariah Leonard recommended them in her glossy wet look highlight videos. The NARS, the Nude Sticks, and the MAC Hyper Real Glow palette, like, they're all because of her. And there we have it, every single cheek product I own at the start of my no-buy year. Okay, so here we have what looks like a lipstick army standing at attention for me. But these are all of my lip products. I went through all of my lip products really carefully and I tried to sort them into categories to try and figure out what is my minimal makeup collection. Like, what is the minimum number of lipsticks, lip products, etc. that I would want in an ideal makeup collection. And then I started grouping everything into those categories and I found out that there are 11 categories total. So I'm just going to walk you through them now. Okay, so starting in the back with the lip glosses, I identified 3 lip gloss categories total. From left to right, we have clear lip gloss, cool tone lip gloss, and warm tone lip glosses. Okay, so these are my 2 clear lip glosses, and it's funny because they're both categorized as lip oils, but they're basically lip glosses. One is the NYX This Is Everything lip oil, and the other is from the Korean brand The Face Shop, and it's in a honey flavor. It's also just a standard lip oil. Alright, these are my 2 cool tone glosses. One is the Lancome Juicy Shaker in Piece of Cake. The other is the NYX Butter Gloss in Praline. And finally, here we have my warm tone lip glosses. The iconic Fenty Gloss Bomb, and to the left we have the Bite French Press lip glosses in the shade Dirty Chai. Okay, so my first lipstick category is what's called neutral pinks. And so to clarify, I would have to finish, let's say I were to finish that mini lipstick first, I still wouldn't be able to repurchase a lipstick until I had burned through this entire category. Right, so in this neutral pinks category, we have from left to right, Kat Von D in Cathedral, that mini size Bite birthday present from last year in the color Chai, and Bond Girl by Charlotte Tilbury. This category of lipsticks is what I call my berry tone lipsticks. There's 2 things in it currently. One is Rebel by MAC on the right hand side, and then that tube on the left is from the Shuomura Super Mario collaboration from last year. It's in the color Underground Adventure, and it's also a berry colored tint. Next we have what I termed the Maroon Oxblood category. It's looking lighter on camera than it actually is, but on the left we have MAC's Diva, and then an Anastasia matte liquid lip in the color Heathers. Over here we have what I call my neutral browns. These are the sister category to my neutral pinks, in that both those categories of lipsticks are my everyday neutral, my lip but better. The neutral pinks are a little more cool tone, these neutral browns are more brown. So we have the Wet n Wild Liquid Catsuit in the color Give Me Mocha. We have MAC's Persistence, Wet n Wild matte lipstick in Bare It All, and a Shiseido lipstick in the color Murmur, which is a matte finish. These are all actually matte finishes. Over here is the category I just call brown. These are like statement brown lipsticks. So they are distinct from the neutral browns in that they're quite strongly brown, like they don't pass as an everyday neutral lip color. So on the left we have Charlotte Tilbury Birkin Brown, and on the right Shiseido Woodblock, and that's one of the gel, shinier satin lipsticks. And finally we've arrived at the most full category of lipsticks, red. I own quite a few red lipsticks. I love a red lip. There's so many, and if I were to buy a red lipstick at any point during my no-buy year, it would mean I have run through all 6 of these lipsticks. So we have the Smashbox Lily Sing collaboration in Boss, such a good color for brown folks like me. And then the back row from left to right is MAC's Ruby Woo, MAC Chili, Clinique Icon Pop. The 2 lipsticks in the front are from this incredible company called Besame Cosmetics that creates red lipsticks. On the left is a color called Victory Red, which is shade matched to the shade of red that women who helped out with the American military in the World War II effort actually wore. On the right is the color Red Velvet, and it's from, I think, it's inspired by, I think, the year 1946, and Agent Peggy Carter from Captain America and the show Agent Carter, this was the exact shade of lipstick that she wore during the very first Captain America film. Chilling out over there in the back is the only lipstick in its category, which is Brights, and that is also from the Shuomura Super Mario collection, and it doesn't really have a name. It's called like Matte Pink something something. It's like a series of numbers. I'll put it on the screen. The other lipstick that is the only one in its category is Bite Beauty's Mochi, and that category is what I call a rich pink. I used to have a bunch of lipsticks in that category, and then I decluttered down to that one because it's my favorite. And that is every single lip product I own. Okay, so here we have all of the eyeshadow products I own, along with all of my eyeshadow primers and glitter glue, so I'm just going to go over them very generally. This is one of those, eyeshadows is one of those categories where I'm not allowing myself any purchases. Like as a whole, I didn't even bother to try and sort things into color families or anything because this is so much. Like you can see so clearly that this is so much. And so I'm just going to go over what I have kind of for funsies so people know where I'm starting out. But this is one of the ones where no repurchases in eyeshadows. If I somehow run out of, you know, primers or glitter glues, yeah, but eyeshadows, no need. Alright, so the boring stuff, I have 3 eyeshadow primers, one from Urban Decay, classic YouTube made me buy it type of situation. It's almost new. I've used it very sparingly because I'm trying to use the other 2 up, but I'm sure I'll break into it as the year progresses because the other 2 are kind of on their last legs. So this one is the NYX Proof It in the middle, and then the sort of grimy looking, formerly black and white tube is the NARS eyeshadow primer. I have 2 sort of glitter primers. That's a separate category. So if, for example, I were to run out of both of these, I'd let myself buy 1 glitter primer, even if I still had normal eyeshadow primers left. I have the Too Faced Shadow Insurance Glitter Glue, which by its packaging you can tell is ancient, but it still works, so I'm just going to keep on using it. And then that tube on the left is from an indie brand called Firene. It's called Pixie Epoxy. It's probably the best glitter glue if you're working with loose pigments, and I used to be like a loose pigment fanatic. I used to have like 100 of them, but now I only have 1. I still keep it because the way it makes sort of anything glittery look is super beautiful. Okay, so moving on to my single eyeshadow products. These are 2 liquid glitter eyeshadows that are basically dupes for the Stila Glitter and Glows. They're from a Korean company called Peripera. They're in the color Candy Cane, which is this very nice rose goldy color, and Bronze Ring, which is predictably a bronze. Moving forward, these are my 3 MAC singles that are in these little compacts. This is from a limited edition Alluring Aquatics collection from forever ago. The color's Lorelei. Texture, Brun. Over here we have 2 Urban Decay singles. On the left is a super glittery Moondust one in the color Space Cowboy, howdy. And then in the middle is the much more plainly named Toasted. Over here we have a Chanel, oh my god, is this Cloverfield? Why is my hand shaking so much? I knew I shouldn't have drunken caffeine. This is a Chanel Illusion d'Ombre in the color Mirage. It used to be a cream eyeshadow. It dries out super easily, but I keep adding eye drops back to it to use it because it was so obscenely expensive, and I'll be damned if I don't get every last drop of use out of that product. Over here we have my last lone sole pigment. It was actually, funnily enough, the very first pigment I ever bought. It's from a company called Shiro Cosmetics, and the name of it kills me, but the color is also beautiful. It's like I'm a sucker for brown bronzy colors, and that's what this is, with just a whole bunch of red and gold and silver glitter thrown in. The name of this, wait for it, is Nick Cage Raking Leaves on a Brisk October Afternoon. And yeah, that is Nick Cage on the cover of that eyeshadow. Like 10 out of 10. It's one of the few things where the mess that the loose glitter pigment causes me is worth it. Okay, this is disrespectful. The camera is not doing the pigment any justice. Suffice it to say, it's very beautiful and worth the pain. Over here we have the 3 NARS eyeshadow singles I own. On the left is the color Nepal, which I literally bought just for the name. People, please don't be like me. Don't buy things just because of the name. Buy it because you actually use it. In the middle is a color I actually really love and use quite often called Fez. And on the right we have the color Persia. This is in their like newer reformulated packaging, which you get, I realized, half the amount of product that you do in your old ones. Like these two on the left, you get 2.2 grams. That newer packaging on the right hand side, you get 1.1 gram of products. They cut the amount exactly in half, but I'm pretty sure they didn't cut the price exactly in half. And finally, this guy over here is a trio of very shimmery, glittery eyeshadows from a company called Kaja, and the trio name is Orange Blossom. I also do have one eyeshadow palette filled with singles from MAC. I am one of those people who I much prefer MAC's stiffer eyeshadow formula to like a very loose, fallouty Anastasia style formula. So I own a lot of MAC eyeshadow singles. I'm not going to go in depth into what they all are. Like, I'm not going to go into every single eyeshadow's name. Oh, that was an interesting sentence. Every single eyeshadow's name, but those are the general sense of the colors that I have and own. Okay, now we're going to move on to the pre-made eyeshadows and quads. In the middle of filming, I suddenly remembered that I had this eyeshadow palette in my purse and I'd forgotten to bring it out, so that's been added to the mix. Now we do actually have every single piece of eyeshadow in the house accounted for. Alright, so first up we have this Smashbox Cover Shop palette in a blaze. It's very similar to the Modern Renaissance color scheme. I love it. It's probably my favorite and most used and well-loved eyeshadow palette. So that's that on that. This beauty is super expensive, and I didn't actually spend my own money on it. There's a program in Canada where you're allowed to sort of use accumulated points at a store called Shoppers Drug Mart for money, and I had accumulated so many points over the years because I used Shoppers Drug Mart for so many things that after I finished writing a whole bunch of final exams one year, I decided to treat myself by using that reward point system to get this. This is Chanel's, I think, first ever matte eyeshadow trio. Can you see, like, from my collection that I'm a sucker for red eyeshadows? I bought it mostly for that red. And because there's this incredible YouTuber called, I think her name is The Very French Girl. She had a video on this entire collection where she reviewed it, and the way she used it was just so beautiful and effortless. I was like, man, I gotta have it. I'll put it down in the description if I can find it. But this is like, I use this when I want to feel like a boss lady, like a super chic, sophisticated, because it's Chanel. It's so bougie. Like, it's so bougie. Continuing on the trend of, oh, did I just buy something for the red eyeshadow? This is a quad by Shiseido, and the color is Jizo Street Reds. I'm not gonna lie, I bought it mostly for the red eyeshadow. The camera's kind of almost washing it out a little. The red and the gold are much more intense, and that color on the right here is like a pinky, silvery duochrome. Even though there's only 4 colors, this guy actually is kind of like a powerhouse because I used it for I think 3 weeks straight in October when I first bought that, and like I fell in love with it, and I was able to create like a surprisingly large number of diverse looks with that palette. So it's tiny, but for me it packs a punch. Now, these 4 bad boys, this is part of the reason why I felt like I really needed to go on a no-buy, because I acquired all 4 of these eyeshadows in the last couple months of 2018. Like in September, October, and November of 2018, before I went on my very first no-buy, I bought all of these eyeshadow palettes. And I bought them all because I was like really, really stressed out and looking for some kind of stress relief and feeling really bad about myself. And since I've bought them, I haven't even really had a chance to use them or get to play with them. And I feel like that's really sad. So these are going to be the eyeshadow palettes that I think I put into heavy rotation during my no-buy year, because if you asked me to give you a review on these 4 eyeshadow palettes, I couldn't even do it. I haven't even used them that much. I just bought them for the sake of buying them, right? For everything else, I could give you a sense of how I felt about that palette, how much I loved it, what it could do for me, but not for these 4. And I started to realize, oh, I was buying just for the sake of buying and feeling better, and that needed to kind of stop. So we have from left to right, the Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air palette, ColourPop's Yes Please, ColourPop's Give It To Me Straight, and the Shop Hush Bad Habit Supernova palette, which is basically a dupe for the Natasha Denona Lila palette. And there we have it. Every single eyeshadow I own. Alright, so this is a series of categories that are kind of like mascara, brow products, liners, etc. that they're usually stored standing up in a container, but for the purposes of this, I've sort of laid them out flat so I can see everything. The first category is mascaras. I currently have 4 full-sized and 1 mini. The Too Faced Better Than Sex in the back, 2 L'Oreal Voluminouses, 1 waterproof, 1 not, Maybelline Lash Stiletto, and the CoverGirl Fiber Super Sizer one. For brows, we have 2 types of products. I only own 1 brow gel, so I have to finish it before I replace it, and I currently own 3 brow pencils. 2 are from the Face Shop, and sadly that one's been discontinued, so when I finish it I can't repurchase that, and then another one from Tony Moly. Okay, so eyeliners are actually split into 3 categories: liquid liner, black pencil, non-black or colorful pencil. Okay, so I only have 2 liquid liners. One is from Essence. This is the one I use every single day. And then this other one is from Sephora. It's one of their brush liners with a fine tip, and it's intended to be waterproof. For pencil liners, I'm just gonna go from left to right. This one's from Essence. It's a matte brown in Cocoa Bean. This is MAC Teddy, Urban Decay Roach, an Essence black gel eyeliner, a Chanel eyeliner in the color Eros, which is like a purple burgundy color, another Urban Decay eyeliner in the color Scorch. So I only have 1 black eyeliner pencil. When it runs out, I'm allowed to repurchase that, but all of these other ones, these browns, golds, burgundies, they all fall into 1 category, which is colorful eyeliner, and I'll have to finish all of them before I can repurchase just 1. Finally, we have my lip liners. The odds of me running out of lip liner, it's slim to none, so I didn't even really bother. So just to run through all of my lip liners from top to bottom, we have one from Urban Decay in 1993, then a whole bunch of MAC lip liners in Whirl, Spice, Plum, Night Moth, and Magenta. And then I have these 2 from Bite Beauty right at the very end. One's a red, the shade is 078, and then the other is like a nude color. That one hasn't even been opened because I realized I already have these 4 up here, which function as these sort of like nudie lip liners for me. And that's that on that. That's the last bit of everything that I own at the start of my no-buy year. Like, I'm genuinely really excited to see how, as the year goes and I actually start using things up, what it looks like in the end. And that's everything from me, folks. If you somehow made it all the way to the end and are still listening, like, you're a real one. Like, I would die for you because you really sat there and listened to me talk for like 30-40 minutes. And that means more to me than you could possibly know. So thank you, truly and genuinely. Now, in the last vid, I had a mild crisis about my outro and about not having an outro, and I was so sort of like ruffled and inexperienced that I even forgot to do that, like, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below, you know, that like classic YouTuber thing. I didn't even do that. Like, I just sort of ended it on this like very, very messy note. It truly was a mess. And I've been thinking about that a lot. And even kind of going through my makeup collection, I've realized I spend a lot of time ruminating on what the perfect eyeshadow is, what the perfect highlight is, what the perfect blush is. I'm constantly in search for perfection, and I apply that same standard to myself. I'm genuinely and truly so uncomfortable with imperfections or mess. While I was thinking about this, I suddenly remembered a quote from Stephen Hawking, the famed astrophysicist, who actually shares a birthday with me, like many decades apart, but still, same day. And he once said, one of the basic rules of the universe is that nothing is perfect. Perfection doesn't exist. And without imperfection, neither you nor I would exist. So I won't wish that you have a perfect week, or even that you come close to achieving perfection. Instead, I'm gonna be incredibly cheesy and wish that even amongst the mess and imperfections of your upcoming week, you are still able to create and experience some very beautiful moments. Bye!
But you gotta be there for me too.